Now to a WSAZ investigation, Unheard. We all expect a workplace free of unwanted advances and inappropriate behaviors from others. But one now former state employee says that's exactly what she endured from her supervisor for months on end. And when she went to the head of the agency, her cries for help were ignored. This is Shawna's story.
Okay.
She was a rising star at the West Virginia Department of Transportation. Shawna, who's chosen not to reveal her last name or show her face, started her career at the department in 2019 as a secretary, working for one of the district engineers. In 2020, she was promoted to executive assistant to the number 2 of the agency, the state highway engineer, Alan Reed.
I considered that an absolute honor, and everything that I handled, it's an honor. You take it very serious. Every phone call you get with a concerned citizen, whether it's a pothole needing fixed or they're just needing a phone call.
From there, accolades for her work started rolling in. Shawna received a couple of awards, including Employee of the Year in 2022. But that same year, Shawna says behind the scenes, that dream had been turning into a nightmare.
How do you get from the Vision Award, Employee of the Year, to where we're sitting here now in 2024?
I can't answer that. I don't know. It hurts.
Shawna says starting in 2021, she endured inappropriate behavior from her supervisor, former state highway engineer Alan Reed.
When did things start to change? Because it seems like at that time you were pretty happy, things were going well, you were content in your job. When did things shift?
You know, now kind of, Sarah, looking back, it's kind of hindsight. I would say it was probably, you know, right away. If you look at text, there was some difference in texting of things, honestly. But it was about a year and a half later, I really started noticing some differences.
So you're seeing this shift, maybe like what, March or so of 2021. Things are changing within the department. But are you also feeling a shift within your personal workspace, where you're the people that you're interacting with?
Most definitely. More specifically with Mr. Reed.
Okay. What was happening?
There's a lot of personal text, a lot of late night, early morning text, a lot of physical touch, just a lot of intimacy, to be honest, to call it that.
When you say physical, this became a physical encounter for him. Was he touching you? Did things cross the line?
Absolutely.
Can you give me an example?
It's tough to talk about. It's even more tough to tell you, you know.
Shawna went on to describe several instances she says made her uncomfortable in the office, and work trips where she says Reed would cross the line.
I would travel with him. He has a state car, and they would be just trips that he would place his hand within the inner part of my thigh. That would be about the extent of that.
Okay.
But extremely uncomfortable. Is that what a supervisor does to an employee?
In 2022, it was on 2 of those trips that Shawna says things escalated further. Shawna says on a trip to Biloxi, Mississippi, Reed got a key card and got into her hotel room while she was sleeping. And then at a DOT Human Resources Conference held at Pipestem Resort in early October 2022, she says he grabbed her, leaving bruises seen here on her arm. Shawna says that was the breaking point. After they returned from the conference, she says she went directly to the head of the department, Secretary Jimmy Riston, who also happens to be Alan Reed's cousin.
And I remember telling him, he's my supervisor.
Yeah.
I think I said that like 3 or 4 times, but he's my supervisor. All I was trying to say is, he can't do this. He's my supervisor. You know, if he thinks there's a relationship, I'm not comfortable in this. He's my supervisor. And that's when he said, let me have a talk with him.
Okay. So
he's off Friday. Then he didn't say it right then. He waited until I got back to my office, said, go home early today. Hang in there, kiddo.
Shawna says she was off work the following Monday. When she returned to work Tuesday, she went to Secretary Wriston for an update.
He said, I need you to give the situation 2 weeks. I had a stern talk with him over the weekend.
What were the 2 weeks? What did he expect to change in 2 weeks? Do you know?
I have no idea. I didn't ask.
And that's when?
I just felt sick when he said that. I wanted to say, you really expect me to, do you know what's happened already today?
Shawna says at that point, she filed a report with the state's Equal Employment Opportunity Office on October 13th, hoping to get help there. But the response from the head of the Department of Transportation just didn't sit right with her.
Secretary Wriston took no action against him.
No.
And even moving his desk or putting you in another place? Or
nothing.
We confirmed Reed was not suspended until November 3rd, 2022, nearly 4 weeks after Shawna says she took the issues to Secretary Wriston. I tried calling him to see why there was no immediate suspension or any action taken.
You may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Secretary Wriston. This is Sarah Sager from WSAZ.
But Secretary Wriston did not answer or return my call. I also called Alan Reed to speak with him about the allegations.
Hi, Mr. Reed. This is Sarah Sager from WSAZ.
He did answer my call, but would only say he had no comment and didn't know what I was talking about.
What we do know, according to this state EEO documentation, Shawna had a right to a decision within 70 working days of her complaint being assigned to investigators. That paperwork was signed by a state investigator on October 13th. If you check the calendar, 70 working days later was January 27th. The same day, Alan Reed submitted this letter stating he was retiring effective January 31st. We also know Shawna was supposed to be notified if her case was substantiated or not substantiated, according to this complaint form found online.
With your EEO report, we've read through the documentation and know that you were supposed to be notified if the case had been substantiated or not substantiated. Were you ever told either way?
No, I was not.
So we reached out to the state to find out why Shawna never received any information. A communications director told us the EEO office was actually disbanded in June of 2022, months before Shawna filled out these forms. They also told us that office does not and did not make determinations regarding the substantiation of complaints, even going on to say, quote, to the extent that she expected a determination from the OEO office, her understanding of the process was mistaken. But what we found on the state's website and voicemails tells a much different story.
Thank you for calling the West Virginia EEO.
That's what I heard when I called the office that took over for EEO. It's now called the Office of Equal Opportunity, but the voicemail still says EEO. And the state's website is full of references to EEO. As of Monday afternoon, there were even links to the same complaint form Shawna filled out. But after we started reaching out, that link now takes you to an error page. And remember how the state said they don't and never have made determinations about substantiation of complaints? This 2020 annual report shows otherwise, breaking down the number of complaints and how many were substantiated. We asked for clarification, but no one will call or email us back. With no answers from the state, Shawna tells us she did retain a lawyer who put the state on notice that she planned to file a lawsuit against the Department of Transportation, Reed, and Secretary Wriston. But that lawsuit was never filed because the state settled. Through a Freedom of Information request, WSAZ obtained the settlement, which shows the state paid Shawna hundreds of thousands of dollars to drop her claims against Reed. They also tried to get her to sign an agreement not to disclose the terms of her settlement, but Shawna wouldn't do it. Shawna says while she tries to move on from this situation, she just wants change for other employees.
It hurts, but all I can tell you is that's why I'm here talking with you today. All of this has taken things from me, and I don't want anybody to ever to have to endure what I've done. If you see something, say something. Stand up for your colleagues. Stand up as a woman. State government, any job you work in. And know that, it's not okay. No means no, but stand up for yourself.
Now, as of today, we found a new complaint form has been added to the state OEO's website. It looks much different from the old form that was up on the state's site until Monday afternoon. And if you want to see that form and how the process for state employees is laid out now, I've got a link in my web story.